All right, so today we're going to be painting like a flower arrangement. So we're not going to copy the photo, we're going to be inspired by it. And we're also going to draw some hummingbirds. We're going to add some hummingbirds to the arrangement as well as some butterflies. And if we have time, we can add like an animal down here. Supplies we're going to need, you're going to need your water. I'm switching my watercolor palette to something that I think most of you guys are using. So just some watercolors like this. And I'm switching my palette, which I use to kind of paint on, to this one because it takes up less space, paper towels. And of course, we're going to need paper. Now, the brushes that I'll be using are my pointy brushes. So I have kind of 3 different pointy brushes. This is kind of a pointy brush, but it's a little bit more rounder on the tip. And then I have this pointy brush that's a little more pointy. And of course, I'll have some flat brushes in case I need to like paint large areas. Of course, you're going to need your watercolor paper. All right, so we're going to do something a little different. Normally we draw with a pencil and then we kind of fill it in. But for today, we're going to learn how to draw with our brush. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pointy brush, so something like this. So just go ahead and grab your small pointy brush. We're going to paint some of these, some flower petals. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to use red. Now you're free to use any color you want except for green. So no green, but if you want to, but I think red's a pretty good choice. So I'm going to take some color from my red. Make sure you add enough water so it should be kind of like soupy. It shouldn't be like really thick. Well, today we're going to do a little different. We're going to kind of draw with our brush. So that's something we need to get used to. All right. And now I want you to start doing like these circle-y shapes, kind of like this. So we're just going to add a few circle shapes, and they can be of different sizes. Just add them in different places. Maybe I'll add a few more on the bottom. So they kind of look like speckles or speckles of stuff. So just add it in places, random places. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my purple color. So here's some purple right here. Add some water to that purple. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Actually, with my purple color, I'm going to paint some petals. So we're going to paint some petals like this. Just going to think of it as like 3 petal shapes. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so they're going to look like kind of a 3 petal shapes. So let's add a few of those in our picture. Okay, now the next thing we're going to paint is we're going to paint some butterflies. So for the butterflies, I'm actually going to use blue for that. And I'm going to do some practice butterflies just to show you how it looks like. Now, as you're mixing the blue, just make sure you have enough water so that it's not too thick. If it's too thick, it's going to be too dark, or it's going to be like the blue is going to be too strong. So we want to make sure we have enough water so it's kind of soupy. All right, so for butterflies, they're really easy to paint. You can just draw an M, kind of like this, or like you can think of it as like a McDonald's, like an M, and then draw the same M on the other side. And then you can add like 2 antennae, and then just fill that up. So that is the butterflies that we're drawing. It's just basically 2 kind of M's on either side, plus the antenna, and then just fill the rest in. So these are some of our butterflies. If you want to go a little more fancy, you can actually make the butterflies like a different shape a little bit. So maybe have a shape that's like this. All right, so it's still kind of M-like, but maybe the bottom part looks a little more fancy. So we're gonna do those in blue. So I'm gonna draw some butterflies right here. And you can add as many butterflies as you want. I'm gonna add maybe 2. And I'm actually gonna draw the dashy lines just to show how it's kind of flying over. So we got some flower petals, now we got some butterflies. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna add 2. I'll just start to add some more flower petals. And again, you can add them in like different places. So we have a few petals and we have some butterflies. The next step is going to be pretty important. In this next step, we're going to start adding some of the plants. Now, if you look at the photograph, on the bottom, you see this little really kind of cool swirly plant thing. That's what we're gonna do next. So let me show you how to do that. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have your pointiest brush. So I have this brush and it's pretty pointy right here. So just take that brush. If you need to clean it, go ahead and clean it. Then I'm going to take some of that green. All right, so we'll take some of that green. And remember, you need to add some water to it. So make sure you add some water to that green. Otherwise, that green is going to be too thick, and which means it'll be too dark. And then I want you to draw a very swirly line. So with our brush, just draw like this swirly line and try to draw around the things you've done already. So don't draw over it, just draw around it. So I got one swirly line right here. The swirly line could probably go a little darker. All right, make sure you use your thinnest brush. Then let's draw a couple other swirly lines. Maybe I'll draw a swirly line right over here. All right, so I got one swirly line here, another swirly line right over there. And again, you guys can put your swirly lines wherever you want. This next swirly line I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one's going to be really tall, so it's going to kind of do something like, maybe something like this. This is really tall. And maybe with this one, I might have it kind of branch out into 2. All right, so you're going to have these kind of green swirly lines. Now, when you're done with those green swirly lines, I want you to draw the plants that are on the side. So let's take this one up top, for example. Using that same green, I'm going to start drawing out some of those kind of plant leaves, kind of like that. And we're just going to draw, we're going to have to end up drawing a lot of these. See that? So we're just going to start drawing them along the whole line of that line. And I might actually make as they go towards the top, I might actually make them a little bit smaller. Each leaf gets a little smaller. And try to draw around or try to paint around the stuff you already did. So you're not going to paint over, you're just going to paint around things. And if you do paint over some things, that's okay. That's totally okay. Your painting will probably still look pretty good. Yeah, and the nice thing about this is that each time you do it, it's going to look a little different. So they're going to look, a little bit different from each other. But it's still both are still gonna look pretty cool, or pretty nice. All right, so let's add some hummingbirds because hummingbirds are super duper cool. So let me show you how to draw that real quick. So again, we're still sticking with our very pointy brush. The hummingbird, you can use any color for your hummingbird. I want to use brown for my hummingbird. I don't know if that's the greatest color, but oh well. So we have our little orange slice, and then we're going to add the tail, which is a line and a Dorito shape, or like a triangle, and just fill that all in like this. And then let's see. Let's draw a circle in there for the head. So here's like a little circle like this, and then for the they have kind of a really long beak to help them, like, I guess, drink the nectar. So we'll have like a little beak like that. And then for the wings, they are just basically also like triangle shapes, kind of like this. So usually hummingbirds they're like this. So that is basically a hummingbird. You can also draw the other wing. And I usually like to leave a line in the middle. So I won't paint it all the way through. I'll leave this white kind of gap in between. So now I'll have my hummingbird right there so you can see. So I'm just gonna use brown for my hummingbird. A good mix too could be like, you can use brown with a little bit of the purple. That also actually, they kind of go together pretty well. So I'm gonna add one next to my flower petals. So I'm gonna start with this sort of kind of this orange slice shape like this. I'm gonna draw out the tail. There's just kind of a long triangle shape. We can add like another circle here for the head. Small little circle. And then you can draw that long kind of beak. And then for the wings, you just use a triangle shape. And then I'll draw another set of wings using another triangle shape, and then I'm going to leave a gap between the two wings. All right, so we got hummingbird here. I'm going to add another hummingbird right over here. Wow, so it's kind of coming together. I'm going to add a tiger because tigers are just super duper cool. And I know I have this orange that's nice and bright. All right, so again, we're gonna take the good old pointy brush. This time I'm gonna go grab me some of that orange. So grabbing that orange. All right, so for the tiger, we're gonna start off with like a circle. And then let's see, we're gonna draw this shape right here, like a little rectangle shape. And then a little triangle shape like this. And then the eyes are gonna go like this. So they're kind of gonna loop like that. All right, so this is tiger-like. I don't know if I can probably tweak the shapes a little bit. So it'll look something like this, but let me show you how to do that with the brush. So first things first is I wanna make sure I have some good eyes. In here, I'm gonna draw two eyes like that. And you can put your tiger wherever you want. And then with the eyes, I'm gonna draw a line going down. Now don't press too hard on your pencil, make it really light. And then on the bottom here, we're gonna draw a triangle. And then another line. So that's what it's gonna look like. Now, when you're done with that, we're gonna take our pointy brush again, and I'm gonna paint around the eyes. So just draw two circles around the eyes. We'll just go with a circle shape. So I'm gonna draw this circle shape around the tiger. And then we'll just fill that whole thing in. All right, so it's gonna look like that. All right, and then for the ears, we're just gonna use a triangle shape for the ears. We'll just use 2 triangle shapes, and then we can just connect it. And then this part might be a little more tricky, but I'm going to draw part of the body behind the branches. So I'm just going to use a rectangle for the body, trying to draw out that rectangle kind of behind all that stuff. So just do your best to kind of draw out the body behind all those branches. And this will make it feel like the tiger is kind of hiding behind all those leaves. Because that's what tigers do. They hide behind plants and leaves. A little floating tiger right here. I'm going to use rectangle shapes for the legs. So I'm going to draw some of the legs. I'll draw his leg on the other side. And I'll leave a gap between the 2 legs, like a white gap. All right, so we got a little tiger here. And then we draw out some of that tail. Okay, so we got a tiger. All right, next part that we're gonna do is we're gonna paint a little bit of the background. So if you look at this painting from the first class, notice how I mixed kind of a yellow-green and I painted it around all of the white space in between, but I also left some of the gaps, you know, some of the white between the yellow-green and some of the red and all that stuff. So that's the next part here. We're gonna fill up some of that white space with a yellow green. So to mix yellow green, it's pretty simple. The trick though is to mix more yellow and a lot less green. So I'm gonna grab a ton of yellow. I'll put it right here. So it's gonna be like mostly yellow with a little bit of green, not much. All right, so once you have that, you can go ahead. I usually like to draw like this little curvy shape here, and then start to fill in that in between. Now you don't have to draw right up to, you can leave some of the white space between each of your, like the things that you painted, which actually looks better in my opinion. You don't have to paint right up to it. All right, so the last step that I'll probably do is add some stripes to the tiger. So I'm gonna take some black and I'm gonna mix that in with the orange. So it'll give me kind of like an orange black. Orange is the new black. So it's like a black, but it has some color in there. And with that, I'm going to draw out the nose. Now I need to be careful because some of this yellow-green hasn't dried yet, so I don't want to smear it with my hand as I'm drawing over it. So you kind of have to be a little careful. You may have to kind of lift your hand up a little bit so it doesn't touch the parts of the painting that's still wet. I want to show you one last trick if you have like colored pencils. So these are kind of my colored pencils. Now you don't have to do this if you don't have colored pencils, that's fine. You know, you can use kind of your colored pencils to kind of draw out some patterns, like maybe on the butterfly, like you want to draw out like maybe you think it'd be cool to have a butterfly with, you know, some kind of patterning in there. And it's probably easier to do with like with a colored pen than with the brush. Like here, maybe I want to add some, you know, something else. Maybe like this kind of pattern to it. Maybe that'll add a little more interest. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So my Ikebana turned into a Ikebana forest with animals. I don't know how that works, but whatever works.
Now, if you like that video, make sure you hit the like button to help us grow the YouTube channel, and hit the subscribe button to make sure that you get notified for future videos. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.